So I'm thrilled to be here. I love performing at business schools because you meet such interesting people. Like I don't look out at you and see just business school students, right? I look out at you and I see people, kind, humble people that might go out and change the world, and investment bankers. So it's like two types of people I see out here. It's amazing. As they mentioned in the beginning, I did go into management consulting, but when I was in business school, I considered investment banking. I definitely considered it. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I think the problem was that I already had the McKinsey offer in my back pocket, and so when I did the investment banking interviews, I was like too honest in my responses. I'll give you an example. I was interviewing with a investment bank called CIBC. If you don't know CIBC, they're like a mid-tier Canadian investment bank, and so I made it to final rounds. Final round, 5 interviews, right? First interview, first question. The guy says to me, so Mr. Shah, most people that apply to CIBC investment banking have a 3.8 or higher undergraduate GPA and have attended institutions like Harvard Business School. You had a 3.2 undergraduate GPA and attended Yale. Why should we hire you? I didn't like his tone. So I was honest. I said, look, I don't have a good answer to that question, but based on your question, I do have a follow-up question, which is I assume you had a 3.8 undergraduate GPA and attended Harvard Business School. So how'd you get into CIBC? Like, what happened at your Goldman interview? That was my follow-up question. And then the interview ended, and I went to McKinsey. It wasn't bad, actually. Speaking of HBS, I actually performed at HBS last year. I performed there every year almost, and it's my favorite business school show to do, and I'll tell you why. It's because whenever I do that show, they have a little cocktail reception before the show. And I always get the feeling that these HBS kids kind of just subtly look down on me for having gone to like a second-tier business school like Yale. And so my favorite part of that show is I open the show by reminding them that actually I turned down HBS to go to Yale. It's not true, but I fucking love doing it. It's like the best part of the show. I love it. It's so much fun. I do a lot of charity events. I did a charity event this past Saturday in Chicago for an organization called Pratham. I see some Indian people in the crowd. Some of you may know Pratham. Pratham's main goal is to make India a better place to live, which is important because honestly, I think the Indians in the room can agree, we may have to go back. It's possible. I don't know. It's been a crazy year, guys. It's been a crazy, crazy last 12 months. I don't even know where to. I think it started a year ago, right? With Brexit. Britain just left the European Union. They just left. Honestly, as an Indian and as an American, I was stunned to see Britain voluntarily leave a place. Who knew that was a thing? I had no idea. It's like Britain said, we're going to do the craziest thing a developed country has ever done. And then America was like, challenge accepted, nerds. And we did it. We elected Donald Trump as our president. Now, look, I don't want to rehash the election. I don't care who voted for Hillary and who voted for the apocalypse. It doesn't matter, guys. All right? The fact is that we're here, and we all have to decide on our priorities for the next 4 years, right? If you're a Democrat, I think the priorities are clear. We have one priority, and that is to keep Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg alive for 4 more years, all right? Get that lady some fiber, all right? And if you're a Republican, enjoy. You won everything. You're going to have a great next 4 years. I think the only thing that would be fair is that if you voted for Trump, as a Democrat, I think we can ask the Republicans, for the next 4 years, you don't get to eat Mexican food. Seems reasonable. Like, how hypocritical would that be? Like, you got to go, but leave the tacos. That's not right, guys. It's not right. My favorite people in the election, though, were the Bernie or bust people. Any Bernie or bust people here? Yeah, okay, so yeah. The audacity of the Bernie or bust people. Like, I imagine Bernie or bust people to be like that in all parts of their life, right? Like, can I have a Diet Coke? We only have Pepsi. Arsenic, then. Arsenic. So crazy. Calm down. God. I'll share with you a story. I actually met Donald Trump last year during the election. I was performing at a charity gala. And I came off, and he was in the audience, and somebody took me up to meet him. And I wasn't expecting it, but I was polite. You know, I went up and I said, "It's nice to meet you, sir," and I put my hand out. And I don't know if you know this, Donald Trump is a bit of a germaphobe. So I put my hand out, and he went, "Nice to meet you." And I got confused in that moment, and I took my hand and I just... I wrapped it around his finger, guys. I shook his finger. I shook his tiny, tiny finger. I can't even tell you how tiny this finger was. It was unbelievable. It truly was a remarkable election. I think the craziest part of it is the outcome, regardless of whether you support Trump or you don't support Trump. The outcome is now we have gone 200 plus years without a female president in this country. And regardless of party, I think we can all agree that's crazy, right? Yes? And I think the thing is, I hope that it happens the next election or two, because ladies, I think you would make great presidents, right? And I'll tell you, I learned the reason at a very young age. I think that women, when they negotiate, they have the ability to both get what they want and make the other person feel very, very good. I'll give you an example. I have a little sister. Her name is Serena. Serena is 8 years younger than me, 8 years younger. But from the moment that she was born, she was calmer, cooler, and more collected than I was. For example, when I was 14, my parents were screaming at me because I had gotten the worst report card of my life, right? I'm sobbing, they're screaming, they're saying things like, "How dare you walk in this house with 5 A's and 1 B? You get the hell out right now." And I'm sobbing, right? My little sister, 6 years old, walks in the room, just immediately takes control. She says, I'm screaming, me crying, she just walks in and she goes, "Shh." And she glares at my parents, and she walks over to me and she says, "Anish, I don't want you to cry. I brought you a candy." And she put a little mini Snickers in my hand. And I said, "Thank you, Serena," and I put it in my pocket, and she said, "No, you eat that candy now. It'll make you feel better." And so I did. I put the mini Snickers in my mouth, and I started chewing, and this little 6-year-old sat down on the couch and held my hand while I chewed it. And then finally I swallowed, and she got up and she walked over to my parents, and she said, "Listen, I don't know what's going on here, but if he gets to eat candy, so do I." And then she shoved the Snickers in her mouth. Took the wrapper, just mic dropped it, walked out of the living room. It was amazing.